Are you an actor who feels like you have no idea what the F you're doing? Every week on the podcast, Acting Like an Actor, we interview working actors about how they broke into the business, the day-to-day realities of it, and how they managed to stay sane in this crazy business. You'll get a ton of advice and inspiration on how they act like they have their ish together. Because we're all just acting like we know what we're doing. We're all just acting like actors, so let's do it together. This week we have actress and podcast host Faith Knapp. She's an actress who can be seen in films such as the Thunderman movie, Not From Around Here Anymore, Murdercycle, and she can also be seen in shows such as Mason. She also hosts the podcast Not Like the Movies. We talk about finding identity outside of acting, the pros and cons of joining SAG, and how Faith got signed with a top manager as a new actor. If you're struggling with your identity, this episode is for you. If you're curious what being a working actor really looks like, this episode is for you. If you want to know what people in LA are really like, this episode is for you. And if you have breath in your lungs, this episode is for you. Let go.
Are you rich?
Are you famous?
What have you been on?
I don't really recognize you, and neither does my mom.
Can you laugh?
Can you cry on command?
I mean, you said you were an actor, man.
What's your backup plan? Is it shattered?
Dude, I'm just acting like an actor.
I currently, with both my jobs, don't have a day off. Ever.
Like you're 7 days a week.
Yeah, and it's really kind of like destroying my life.
And you're also an actor, so
Right.
there's also like that as well.
So I'm like, I don't know how I did this and I don't know how to get out of it. So,
That's the season you're in.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's going. Just looked right into the camera. Don't ever do that.
No, it's good. I always address them sometimes if I'm really making the point.
Always
Like,
sometimes?
that's nice. Only sometimes.
Everyone at home.
Yeah, to everyone else.
Is this going to be annoying?
No,
I just
don't
want
think
to move
so.
it.
There's a water there too if you need to
Oh,
hydrate.
my gosh,
Right, that's
fancy.
it. I know.
Wow.
I know. Star
Great.
treatment here. Only for you, Faith.
Peace,
Okay.
love, LA.
I know. So, the first segment I'm going to start with irritating icebreakers.
Oh, love it.
3 just random questions.
Okay.
We'll start a little slow, a little soft. What's the first thing you thought about this morning, Faith?
Oh my God. The first thing I thought about this morning is I journal every morning, and this week I've been like, fucking hell, I don't want to do that. So I woke
morning
up and I was like,
pages?
I don't want to do that. Yeah. But I do mine differently because the whole 3-page thing,
Girl,
I did that. I did it
Okay.
at first just to like, because she said to just do it. And so I did it. And then I like adjusted. So now I do 1 page of like stream of consciousness, and then I do 1 page of like prose, which is really fun and like brings you back to like elementary school when
Prose?
they told you could just write a poem, just like poetry,
Oh,
like,
okay.
or just like a little, I don't know, like more artsy of a
Oh, I like
thought.
that.
It's really cute. But this morning I was like, I don't want to do that, but I did it.
Okay, love. She overcame.
I
She
did.
overcame. We persevere.
It's a battle every morning.
If you were stranded on an island, what 3 items would you have with you?
Oh my God. Is food and water already there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, great. So that makes it a lot easier. I feel like, is it not an option to leave?
No, girl, you're stranded.
Okay. So not like a boat.
No.
Okay. Great.
A boat, an airplane, and a helicopter.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably bring something that could play music or like play something, because I think I would quickly lose my mind by myself. Probably paper
Okay.
to write with. And honestly, probably like a Bible. Like, I feel like at that point, it's just like, this is all you have.
Yeah, no, truly. I love that. Okay, and then the last irritating icebreaker. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Trying to think if it's one like career related or life related. One thing that I'm not very good at following, but I think is very good advice, something my dad always said, which was that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I am very much a type of person who wants to do everything. So I need that reminder a lot.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Faith. And then just for anybody out there who doesn't know you, which I'm sure they all do. If you listen to this podcast, you'll love her podcast, Not Like the Movies. But I'm curious, Faith, can you just tell us a little bit of your story? How did you end up here? How'd you end up in LA?
All the fun things. Well, I have been doing theater since I was 6. I did Annie, which every little musical theater girly has done. But I really did that because I have a little sister and we would play pretend all the time and like put on shows for my mom and my dad. And my mom was like, people do this on purpose together as a group and they make it all together and you should do it. So I did that when I was really little. And then I did all the other stuff that you do when you're little, like gymnastics and sports and cheerleading and all the things. But I kept coming back to the whole like pretend thing. And I would put on shows for my friends, for my parents, for literally anyone who would pay attention. And then in high school was really when I got super serious about it. I had a really great director who taught us like Stanislavski and Uda and Meisner like freshman year of high school. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And we one day were talking about like what we wanted to do with our lives and that sort of stuff. And I said I wanted to be an actor, but that was really scary and risky. And I'm super type A. And I'm good at school. And so I was like, so I'm just going to minor in that. And I'm going to do something else as my major. And my teacher was like, why? Because you're scared? And I was in front of like my 24 other people. And I was like, yeah. And then I had him like the whole high school career. I did our repertory theater, which was like varsity theater that you auditioned for and all that stuff. And I just realized that there was nothing else that I wanted to do or that fulfilled me in the same way. So I did the whole college audition process, which if anyone's doing that right now, shout out to you. It sucks. It's so a rough time. And if you don't get into the school you really wanted, you're not a bad person. But I got into school that I wanted. And I got a BFA in acting from UCF. And then I moved here. Well, I graduated in 2020, which was a blast. So I went back home for a little. And then I moved out here in 2022. So I've been here for almost 3 years in July.
Wow, time goes by faster out here.
Yeah, it really does.
Almost 3 years in July or 2 years?
Almost 3. So I guess I came here in...
21.
No, I came here summer of 2022.
Okay, so you're
so that would make it almost 3.
2 years, right? It's 2024. So if you moved here in 2022, right?
I know what you're
years?
saying makes sense, but I've definitely been here for 3 years. So maybe it was 21.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't understand how I did it, but
your 3 year mark somehow, some way. Okay.
Today I literally looked at something and somebody was like, "Oh, from 2023," and I was like, "Yeah, that was this year." And then I was like, "Oh my god, it's not."
I know. They all, yeah.
But yeah, I've been here for 3 years somehow.
Fair enough. Okay, trust you. We won't think too much about it. My 3-year reunion's in May actually as well. So,
oh my
and
gosh,
I moved here in 2021,
baby.
May 2021.
Yeah. I still feel like I know nothing, and also like a little bit of something.
No, right? Yeah, yeah. I wonder if you can ever understand all of LA because I feel like I get a good grasp on it, and then I'm like, nah.
Yeah, and then something happens, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. Shouldn't have done that.
So you moved here 3 years ago.
Somehow.
Somehow. We won't think too hard about that. How was theater school for you overall? Are you happy you did the whole acting college thing?
It was a time. I'm actually about to go back because my little sister is graduating in May, and she went to the same school. So I'm going to be back on campus watching her graduate, which is going to be interesting because I think I had both experiences at the same time. I had a great time being in the PAC for 18 hours a day and living, breathing art, and there were a bunch of people that thought the same way, which is great. And you're on your own and you're exploring all these things, and that was fun. But I also think that BFA programs have that weird dichotomy of it's great to do this all the time, and they don't really prepare you for you're going to have to go out and live a life, and acting is all based on experiences, but the only experience that you've had in these 3 or 4 years is in this bubble of artists, and you're not doing those things, and you're not meeting other people, and you're also not figuring out who you are without this thing, which I understand is not something you can't really do both as a program, but I wish that was kind of a concept I had figured out a little bit earlier. But long story short, I had some really great professors that I still text with when I have questions and stuff like that. But it wasn't that picturesque thing that I think everybody makes it seem like. Yeah. And I don't really talk to a lot of people from my program, not because of anything, but just you all go your own ways. So it's a weird, intense amount of time with these people, and then you don't really see them again. Mm-hmm. So kind of both.
Yeah. High school and college are both kind of like that. It's so interesting. You go from seeing these people every day to not at all. Are most people you went to college with kind of doing the acting thing though still, would you say? Or
Because I was in a BFA program, I would say a high percentage of them are, but there are a lot of them that are doing musical theater or cruise ships or that sort of thing. There are a couple from my BFA class that I think are doing more so film. And then I'm actually closer with 3 of the quote unquote upperclassmen that were in like different classes. We're all still friends and like we hang out here. But I think that was just because like we realized we were all here. Like they were so much older than me that I like maybe was in school for a semester with them. Yeah. But now that we're all adults, it's like, oh hey.
I know. Yeah, it's funny. That age difference no longer matters.
Exactly. It's like we're all just trying to figure it out.
Okay, so can you tell us kind of like the heart behind Not Like the Movies, your podcast, like why you started it, what inspired you to do it, things like that?
So, shout out to my dad. He told me for forever that I needed to start a podcast, like in high school. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to talk about? Nobody cares what I have to say. And because I'm not at like that caliber of success where I'm like armchair expert, like bringing in all these big celebrities and that sort of stuff. But when I got here and started to try and do all the things, I was really overwhelmed with all of the information on this is how you do this career correctly, and you should do this, and you should pay for this, and you should take this class, but also this class, and also these headshots, and this agent, and blah, blah, blah. And being so type A, it was very frustrating because it doesn't work. Like, you can do the same exact thing, and it just doesn't lead to the same path. Because that's how our career is. It's not like I'm the accountant here and then I get a promotion and then I move on. So I was really overwhelmed by that. And I was really bummed out by the fact that I felt like I wasn't doing any of like the art stuff that I really liked. Like I was updating my headshots and I was reaching out to reps and I was doing all the admin like business stuff. But I didn't get to do the fun parts. Like even in auditions, sometimes you're like, yeah, it's fun. But also there's this guise of, well, if they hate this, then that sucks. And like, who knows if anybody's watching this and that sort of thing. And it just felt super competitive. And I wanted a place where artists could talk about why we do this and not like how to do it and more of the process and why we enjoy this and why we started it in the first place. And I think that's so much more inspiring and fulfilling than, well, I did all these steps and I got to this place and you should do that too. That feels super overwhelming to me. And I honestly, I really like learning and I'm a big people pleaser, which I'm working on. But it's very hard for me to be like, hey, can I pick your brain and just take you to coffee? Versus if I'm like, hey, could you come on my podcast? Because now you're getting something. Yeah. And I don't feel like I'm ambushing them. Like you agreed, I'm going to answer all these questions and I'm going to talk with you. And it's just like a nice place to chat about art and you don't have to be so businessy. Yeah. So that was kind of the point. And to like kind of take back the curtain of I have all these friends who were in hit shows that I'm then in class with and they're like crying because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like now I'm not booking. And I thought that was important for people to know because you feel like it's just you.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
So eye-opening. I love that. A vibe that I get from your podcast, and I think a lot of people do, is that you're very good at remaining peaceful, and I feel like living like a full life in a crazy business, or at least you exhibit that, so take that as you will, Faith. I get the vibe from you that you're very good at working hard, but also like taking care of yourself and stepping back. And so I guess my question for you, is this true? Do you feel like you're good at taking care of yourself and staying peaceful in this business? And if so, how do you kind of do that? How do you keep your peace and keep your joy in such a crazy business?
Yeah. I'm glad it comes across that way. Sometimes that's true, and other times it's not, which I also think is okay. Yeah. I think a lot of times, at least I feel like, if I have a week that's really good, and then I have a week that's really not, I like start to spiral on like, oh, what did I do? Like now I can't get it back. Yeah. So I think it's okay that it's both. Yeah. Sometimes I have really weeks where it's just not working, and I feel like sometimes you have to have those, but when it is working, I honestly am focusing more on Like, I really love my acting class. I love the people in my studio. It's, again, a hard thing to like check off on your list, like find a studio you like.
Yeah.
It's almost like my parents called it church shopping when I was little because we moved a lot. So every time we'd go to a new place, they would like shop around for a new church and they'd go to different ones and all that stuff. So it's almost the same with acting classes, I think. I took a ton from different studios and then found the last acting studio, which is where I still take and I'm class manage. But I think finding people that view your art in the same way, not like, oh, we agree on every artistic thought, but like, I care more about the art than I do the red carpet. Like those kinds of people, and surrounding yourself by them. Like every Wednesday, I'm just more, even if I'm hating the industry when I walk in, I get to watch my friends do what they love. And afterwards, I'm like, you know what? It's going to be okay. It's fine. And we can do this. So I think that's really helpful. I think this one I'm not great at because of the whole BFA thing, but I'm working on it. But I think having other things that you enjoy doing that aren't added to your resume, that are just like random things that you like, is really helpful because then you get to be a person. I think I'm such an old lady. I journal and then I go on walks in the morning and that really helps. I think, you know, the certain relationships in your life that you feel like are safe and nice places where you can complain, but also talk about things that aren't the industry. Sometimes I just like need a break and do something totally opposite. I don't know. I think it just depends. Or like the other night we had a Mahershala Ali gave us like a talk back type of thing at our studio. And he was just talking about how he kind of recharges with the importance of and the beauty of like you get to tell these stories. And I think even when you're not cast in something, when it feels like, well, I'm not getting to do my thing, that's your time to like absorb like how you're viewing the people in the world and the experiences and like the life around you and the things that you get to draw on, or time for you to write your thing and that sort of thing.
No, I love that. I think that's so true too, that like life experience is what makes you a better actor. And this is something you talk a lot about on your podcast, but like if you don't have a full cup, you have nothing to pour from. So it's really important to live a life outside of acting, because if your whole life is acting, how are you going to have anything to pull from for your acting? And so,
which feels so contradictory because everyone tells you like you have to work and like grind and this and this. But like sometimes my best tapes are just like I read it once and I was like, I don't have time, and I just did it. And you're like, oh, why am I making it so hard?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, let me ask if you're comfortable talking about this first. I looked it up and I saw you're with like a very high manager.
Oh,
like a top manager. Yeah. Like I was looking at his clientele and it was really crazy. So if you're comfortable, can you give us the story of how you got with such a top manager?
Yeah. This is, again, it won't work the same way because it was real random. I went to school at UCF, that's in Orlando, Florida. And when I was in school, I reached out to a bunch of managers in Orlando, or agents in Orlando. And I was repped by an agent in Orlando. And then when the pandemic happened, I was still repped by her because my parents lived like 2 hours away. So I kept her during that. And then when I let her know I was moving out here, she only does East Coast. So she was like, can't rep you anymore just because I don't do that. Yeah. But best of luck, blah, blah, blah. It was very lovely. She's great. And then when I moved out here, I was looking for reps and I had a couple meetings with agents and that sort of thing. And I just texted her and I was like, hey, if you happen to know anyone on the West Coast, I'm like, here's my package. I redid everything. Just let me know. And she was like, oh, yeah, of course. And then she texted me like a couple weeks later and was like, oh, I totally forgot. One of my friends from college who I went to FSU with is out there and he's been an agent for like 15 years and now he's switching more to the managerial side. Would you want me to give him your number? And I was like, yes, please. So then Scott and I met for coffee and we had like a normal agent, or I keep saying agent because he used to be, but we had like a nice little meeting and chatted, and I talked about like kind of what I saw and kind of what he saw and what he wanted and what I wanted and that sort of thing. And we got along great. And then he called me and was like, hey, do you want to work together? And I was like, hey, yeah. So shout out Scott, because he's the best. He's like a beautiful manager in the fact that he's very professional and I trust his opinion. But also I can text him at midnight and be like, hey, Scott, I'm a little worried about what I did here. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. Do you know this person? Like, am I doing this right? Because I'm still so new. And he's like, yeah, don't do that. Or yes, do this. Like, it's just very nice to have someone that does that. Or every once in a while, if I send in like a really kick-ass tape, he'll text me and be like, hey, kick-ass tape. And I'm the type of person that kind of needs it sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lovely relationship. I like manager relationships way better than agent relationships. I just feel like he's on my team versus like there's this random person that I'm sending things into the ether, which I have a lovely agent. I like her a lot, actually. I have a new commercial agent, but it's just a very different relationship.
Yeah. Are you up to theatrically with an agent?
No.
Okay.
So, not currently, because I'm in that weird space of like growing into the union. Yeah. So it's like, do I wait? Do I not? I don't know. Everybody has a different opinion.
I had a guy in here. His name's Michael. He's been in SAG since he was like a little kid. He's done tons of shows, whatever. And he literally on the podcast was like, don't join SAG, Sophie. Like, SAG is not as strong as it used to be. Like, things are not the same. Yeah. He's really upset with the SAG contract. Like, I don't know, and to each their own, their opinion with that thing, but I just, it's so interesting the different voices you'll hear around that, and it makes things confusing. But I know, same as you though, I'm like, at this point I don't think the $3,000 is worth it. If something big enough were to come, I'd find a way and make it happen.
Well, also like, at least from my understanding, again, SAG is such like a mythical
thing. I know, and there's so much in it.
Yeah, and there's so many different opinions and advice and even like thought processes on what actually happens for you to join. Yeah. But in my head, if Euphoria called me tomorrow and was like, hey, you're booked season reg on season 3, then I would join because I would be a must join. Yes. So I think in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to wait until I have to. That's
kind of the place I'm in too. I know, because otherwise what's the point, especially with the state that we're in right now where there's like,
and the money.
Yeah, I know. There's like, I think I just read there was 13. Deadline released an article yesterday. Deadline released an article yesterday, actors, about just saying how slow it's been post-strike. And it's like the TV filming is down like 63% what it usually is, like more than half. There's like really not much going on right now. And a lot of the work that's sustaining actors is non-union. Those verticals, which we'll talk about in a minute, non-union commercials, like all of this stuff. And truthfully for me, I think if I were to join SAG right now, I know I wouldn't work.
Same. You want to put me up against Sydney Sweeney? Who's going to book?
I know.
Sydney Sweeney.
That's the thing too.
And honestly, I would cast her too.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, I know.
But it just doesn't make sense for me. It's just not the right move. But hopefully it will be eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Eventually. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay, so now can we chat about verticals a little bit? Because I saw you did one. I did. And I'm sure have you seen like everybody's been doing them? They're all over Actors Access.
They're like all the rage right now.
Okay, they are. Yeah. So this has been a topic just coming up a lot on our podcast lately, but I'm just curious, what was your experience like on the vertical? Things like that.
Totally. So the one that I did was for Galatea TV, I believe. And I've heard very different experiences, but mine was really a great experience, I think, solely because it was with Purple Cactus Production Company, and that was the only reason, honestly, that I decided to do the project. Okay. It's they're on my podcast in 2 weeks, so you can listen to them talk about it. But they are a lovely female-led production company, and it's 3 women that are the creators and founders, and they do everything. And one of them I actually knew of because all my friends did this movie the summer before 2020 together that I was supposed to be in, or it was during 2020 that I was supposed to be in, but then I did a show instead. But I knew her because of that. And I was like, oh, her name is so familiar. And I stalked them on their website, and their whole focus is female-led stories and elevating voices that haven't been elevated in the past and that sort of thing. And I just looked at their work, and it was beautiful. And I was like, you know what? If these girls are part of it, or women are part of it, then I want to be part of it. And I was lucky with my co-star was lovely. Everybody was really nice. It was like one of the nicest crews I've ever worked with. Everybody was very pleasant. Nobody was yelling at anyone. We had an intimacy coordinator who was lovely, who actually works at my job at the theater, and we like realized it when she was there.
Wow.
So it was all around very fun. It was shot very much like a soap opera, so it was like grueling 15-hour days, and it was just us two essentially in the thing.
Wow, it's heavy.
So it was a lot of like memorizing in the makeup chair and
Yes.
doing it. But honestly, it was a nice boot camp for like, now if my manager is like, hey, here's an audition for a series reg, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. Obviously, it would be for a much more prolonged period on a series, but it was like a little boot camp of like, could I actually do this?
Yes.
And I did it. So
yeah, no, I love that. I know I've been telling everybody, I'm like, this is our CW series regular prep.
Yeah, for real.
Because you're right, it does run like a show, and when you're one of the leads, it's hefty. You have to take it day by day. Like, I went into it being like, I can memorize 90 pages, and then I was like, no, Sophie, you can memorize 7 pages a day. You can take it day by day, queen, because we ain't,
literally, and they're changing it as you go.
No, yes, and it's so fast.
Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, I could walk in a general hospital and be okay.
Yeah, that's so interesting that production company did one though. I love that. There are so many production companies doing them, so many apps. I'm really happy to hear though that your experience is so good. I'm excited for that episode too. Because I assume they do other stuff than just verticals.
That was their first vertical. So they usually do. I went to one of their premieres where they did a bunch of their shorts recently. Like they did one with the Coen sisters. I think they're on Instagram and TikTok. And it was really good. I think they wrote it. But the cinematography is always beautiful, and it's always just like well produced. Yeah. And Lily is the producer, and she's one of the nicest producers I've ever worked with. For me, usually on set, when the producer comes, everybody's like, oh shit, the producer's here. Like, tighten up. Like, let's get things going. And she was there almost always, and was very chill, and like come over and be like, hey, what's up? Do you need some like snacks? Like, was just like very professional, but also very chill. It was lovely. So, thumbs up for me. Are they all like that? Probably not.
Right, yeah. I've done quite a few at this point, and yeah, some of them are great, and some of them are not so great. And it's the same thing I hear from other actors, but... okay, I also saw, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but you did something a little special at Paramount lately. I saw some like little sneaky things on your story, but I was like, I don't know if you can talk about that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can, because it was a full year ago.
Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't allowed to post it until it came out.
Okay.
But because of the strike, it was like super postponed.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they were doing like pickups and all that stuff. But I did, shout out Scott. I did a audition for like a random short that Scott got me, and it was with the casting associate was Devin Brady, which you can also listen to on my podcast. And I didn't end up booking that, but they called me back, and so I kind of met them. And then when they were doing, it's called The Thunderman's Return. It's a Nickelodeon movie. I guess there was a first one, and then there was the show. Yeah. It's kind of like, did you watch Wizards of Waverly Place? And they did the movie at the end. I think it's like that kind of thing, but Nickelodeon instead of Disney. And so then Devin worked on The Thunderman's Return, and he called Scott and was like, hey, is Faith doing anything next week? And I was like, no. And then he called me and was like, hey, you're not doing anything next week. And I was like, okay. And then he just cast me from that. I didn't have to audition. I didn't have to do anything. I say like 3 things, but
hey girl,
I'm a little 14-year-old in the high school, and it was a blast.
Oh, you played 14.
Oh yeah,
girl,
she plays young.
Okay.
But it was a blast. It was so cool because it was on the Paramount lot. Had like a fancy little trailer. Little me was like, oh my god, I'm a Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And that is really fun.
Yeah.
Aw. And I love that the way you booked that too. Our industry's so fun because we can book things the randomest way.
It's so weird.
And the gigs are so... 2 days ago, I got a call at 5 p.m. Sophie, can you be at Universal in an hour to be a stand-in for Candace, that like blonde Victoria's Secret model or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
They were like, yeah, can you be here? I just knew one of the producers. She's like, can you be here in an hour to like stand in for her? I was like,
yeah,
okay. It's just one of those things. You just drive there. I show up there. It works an hour, but
it's truly so weird. And like the parts weren't even remotely similar. Like the short that I auditioned for, I was like an edgy, kind of like wannabe woke blonde who was like saying like clit and shit. And then I like that was what Devin saw me do. And then he was like, "Do you want to be on Nickelodeon?" Like polar opposite.
Interesting.
But I love that he saw that.
No, I love that. Yeah. Yes, a versatile actress.
Yeah.
She can do it all. She can
play 14. She can walk into the bar.
I know. Yeah. That is like the power of makeup though as a female. Is I feel like you can like if you're not wearing makeup,
Truly.
dress down, you can look a lot
And they put
younger
me like
then-
in overalls and I have like a side pony. And I'm like,
Okay, queen. That's fun though, yeah. I also think too, I'm always telling people, I'm like, I'm trying to play as young as possible right now because we only look
totally.
this way for so long. So it's
Yeah.
like, play me down as much as we
Totally.
can for the longest time.
well, like all the High School Musical kids were late 20s. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even like Euphoria and stuff too. All
Yeah.
the CW shows, they're always
They're
like our age
old.
playing 16. Which,
Which was like a huge letdown because I thought people were going to look like that in high school. And
no, I know.
we,
It
I
does
didn't
kind of-
either.
Yeah, it does kind of F with kids' heads. Leighton Meester, who plays Blair on Gossip Girl, she was on, what's his face, Penn Badgley's podcast, and they were talking about, they're like, how fucked up is it really that we're like 20 years old pretending we're 16, giving these like body image things to these little kids who are like, ooh, like I should look like this at 16. She's like, and I'm a grown-ass 20-something-year-old woman.
I'm a woman.
These little girls are looking at me. I was like, yeah, that was kind of... Because I remember being in middle school watching Gossip Girl, like, wow.
Yeah,
high
literally.
schoolers.
Same with High School Musical. I was like, oh, all the boys are
Yeah.
going to look like Zac Efron.
Right.
Sweet. They did not.
No, they did not.
It would have been great if they did, though.
I know. Can you take us through a day in the life of Faith? I know this is like a really hard question for actors because it's like, well, am I on set this day? Am I whatever? But just like an average day. Maybe you're working. Maybe you got an audition. What does it look like?
Currently my day-to-day is I work 2 different jobs. So I teach kids theater, and then I am an assistant for Stephanie Gerard Photography, which if you need headshots, go to Stephanie Gerard. She's great. So I work 7 days a week right now, which is not ideal, but is what I'm doing currently. So if I have a tape, like last week was brutal because I had like 3 different tapes, which is great. Usually you're like, yes, let's do it. That's why I'm here. But when you're already trying to squeeze in all these things, sometimes it feels like added pressure. Yeah, and I had to do the whole like, this is why I'm here and I should be happy that I have these things. So I did, I'll just take you through a day where I had everything instead of like a more chill version. Yeah. But I think like Tuesday last week, I'm an old lady, so I like to get up and journal and do my walk and all that fun stuff. I did the whole cold plunge situation for like 3 days because we have a pool in our neighborhood. Oh. And then I was like, fuck this. I can't do it.
So you did a cold plunge in your pool?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Because it's
queen.
like winter,
No,
so I was
yeah.
like, oh great. But it's not for me. I hate it. It like makes me hate the world.
Apparently
afterward
you end up
it's
liking
great.
it, but yeah.
But I can't do it. So anyway, that got discarded. Also because it takes a lot more time. So I do my little morning routine. And then I try and do my tapes in the morning because I hate going home after a full day and then trying to act and put makeup on and do your lights and all that stuff. So I have a couple friends who are my go-to people for readers, and one of them lives on the East Coast, which ends up working perfectly because 6 a.m. our time is 8 a.m. their time. Yeah. So I don't feel as bad waking a friend up to do a tape with me. So I did, last Tuesday, I think I did a tape at like 6:30 in the morning.
Queen.
And then I worked out, and then I went and worked at Stephanie's studio from like 9 to 3, and then I went to West Hollywood and I worked and taught my kiddos from like 4 to 7.
Oh, you're working doubles.
And then I went home and then I hit a wall. But
no, I like that. That's like,
yeah.
That's a very realistic, no, crazy, but like realistic day in the life of an actor in Los Angeles.
yeah, it's not
it'd be
super
like that.
glamorous.
No, it's not all the time.
lot
It
of
is
work.
glamorous sometimes, but no, I think that's so real.
Yeah. So it was a time.
So on that note, what are some daily and weekly things you do to keep yourself going? I know we talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but what are some self-care things you try to do like daily, weekly to keep yourself sane while doing this crazy schedule?
I love my journal, even though I hate it. And I truly like walking around because I live in a very suburby neighborhood and I live on a hill, so you can kind of see the whole city and it feels less overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I like doing that. I like going to new coffee shops. I like calling my mom.
The little things.
Yeah, I like the little slow down things. I honestly really like chatting with the kids that I teach, usually. unless they're being insane. Just because they have like a better perspective on certain things, on just like, oh, this is so exciting and fun. I like reading plays. I like watching like random interviews with actors. Sometimes that helps me like focus on somebody else and not myself.
Yeah.
I like moving, not moving my house, but moving, like whether it's Pilates or working out or just going on a walk or something. It gets me out of my head.
Yeah.
Just like all the stupid stuff that your therapist tells you to do. It works. It just takes a lot of effort to do it.
Right. But then the minute you stop, you feel it. That's how I am too. Like if I keep up on those habits, I feel like, okay. If I stop doing those habits, I just feel
literally
like
it's like, damn it, Kaylee was right.
Yeah.
She really knew.
Make a big difference. I love that. What has shocked you the most about Los Angeles, would you say?
I think it's shocking to me how many people talk here, and they're like just all talk, which I guess shouldn't be as shocking as I thought it was. Like, I don't know, coming from the East Coast, you're always like, oh yeah, there's the LA stories, like Hollywood and casting couches and like that sort of thing. I think I was more privy to because of the whole, we finally had the Me Too movement and everything, and I think that was at the forefront. So that I was like, okay, that's on the radar, we'll be fine. But people here will say anything. The amount of people that are like, oh yeah, I know Zendaya. And you're like, do you?
Because just the flexing in general of like celebrities, I love it.
It's so weird. And I don't really know what the goal is. It's just like very strange. And people will just talk like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so. I'll like text them and they can put you in their next thing. And I know this person and I'm making something. I want you to be in it. Can you send me your info? And I understand there's a balance of like, truly it takes a ton to get something to happen. And like, yeah, you could tell me I'm going to put you in something and it could be years until I like see that happen, and that's fine. But there are people who very much do the like talk and nothing's going to happen. I just feel like that's a waste of everyone's time. And it's very shocking how often people do it, and I don't understand their gain. Like, I don't really get what you get from that, because you're not going to get anything from me. I know literally my friends. Like, I don't have any high connects to anyone. So that was really shocking to me. I was like, oh, I shouldn't take everything that people say literally. Or even just like people here are very big into like, we should totally hang out sometime. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then, which is fine.
It is.
If you didn't want to hang out with me, just say bye. It was nice to meet you. That's fine. I don't know. I just like came from East Coast is very like, if we aren't going to hang out, we aren't going to hang out.
Yeah.
Versus here, it's like, no,
The facade here is so real.
I think that was shocking to me. How fake people are to your face.
They're like nice, but there's no substance.
Right. It's like nice instead of kind.
It is. Yeah.
And it's very off-putting.
It is very off-putting. I know, and it takes a minute to get used to, especially, if you're I'm from the Midwest, and I feel like even there people are more, like, straight up to your face. Like, people say something and they mean it, but I know it's almost given me, like, trust issues. Like, I feel like somebody says, let's hang out now, and in the back of my head, immediately, I'm like, we're never gonna hang out. You're lying to me. You live in Santa Monica, and I live in the Valley, girlfriend.
We're never gonna see each other.
Pretend.
It's very strange. Or, like, when I first came here, I got my hopes up for a lot of things. Which was just like my little naive, like, I'm in LA now and I'm going to do all these things. And people say something and you're like, oh, yes, my chance, especially as an actor, because you're not creating your own chances at first. Other people are making them. Yeah. So I think it was shocking to be like, oh, if somebody says they're going to do something, they might, but it's going to be in years down the line.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I know I take everything with a grain of salt these
okay,
days.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll do
that.
that.
Up a little bit. I know. As like bad as it sounds, you do a little bit.
Yeah.
Give them your manager's number if they tell you they're gonna put you in something, and then leave it at that.
Literally, I'm like, you can reach out to Scott.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Scott's gonna be like, why did you say my name so much in this episode?
It all comes back to Scott and your dad. I feel like the two most instrumental men in your life. I love it.
Truly.
The only men you need since we live in Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Truly.
Yeah, don't date in Los Angeles. Oh my god.
That's a whole other story. Don't date an actor. Especially
don't date an actor. Oh my god.
Have you dated an actor?
Oh, yeah.
I was just having a conversation with a chick on set today, and I was like, why do male actors ick me out so bad? But if, like, a female actor does something, like, if she whips out her phone on set, I'm like, yes, girl, do it. A male whips out his phone on set, I'm like,
you're a dick.
I know, put it away. Nobody wants to, I don't know what it is.
Which girl's heart did you break?
Right, I know. Yeah. Okay, my last segment is Fast for 65. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite quote?
Oh my god. The quote that's currently on my lock screen of my phone is, "You don't have to do anything productive to be worthy of love."
Oh, I love that.
All those overachievers, take that to heart.
Have you taken the Enneagram? Side note.
I haven't.
Okay.
But I know what I probably am.
Type 3.
Yeah.
I'm a type 3. You give me type 3. Or type 1. You might be a perfectionist.
That's also quite possible.
What is something in LA that you love that not a lot of people know about?
Ooh. I love Highland Park. Honestly, people sleep on it because it's way far east and it is inconvenient. But
It's like Glendale-ish.
yeah, it's like almost a South Pass, which scares people. But it's very nice and homey, and I love to sit at the top of my hill and look at the city. Or Point Doom, but I feel like a lot of people know about Point Doom, but I would highly recommend.
You're a beach girl.
Yeah, I am.
It's the
I'm
Florida.
a beach girly.
You got used to it.
It's like, why do I live on the east side? I don't know.
Favorite line in a movie or show?
Oh, there's so many good ones. I don't even know if it's a line that they say, but La La Land is one of my favorite movies. I know, controversial, but the essence of their lives going separate ways just because the timing wasn't right, and her deciding that her career was a very important thing to her and not giving it all up for the guy, is a very different message than what you usually get.
Yeah, because usually they do give it up for the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like this, I chose a different thing. I'm sure she says like a great line in there or something like that, but
Yeah. No, I love that.
also we all live in a stone. So.
I know. 2-time Oscar winner. She's like
For
30.
real, poor
She's
things.
like
Are you
30.
kidding?
I know.
She's so
I know.
cute too. I'm
She
like, man, I
is.
think I would love getting coffee with her.
I know. She is. Pickles, yay or nay?
No,
Okay, that was fast. Love it. People are passionate about their pickles.
I'm not a pickle person. You can have mine anytime.
Recent obsession?
Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
But I always stop the episode that she drops out of Yale and then I restart. I've never passed that point because I hate that plot point. I think it's stupid. The whole character is on her going to Yale and being an achiever, and then she drops it because one guy says that she sucks at it. And the creators like took a hiatus that season, so it's not what they wanted to happen.
Oh, tea. I'm surprised you haven't watched it through just out of curiosity to see.
Now I'm like revolting.
Oh, okay, love it. All right, Faith, is there anything you would like to leave our Acting Like an Actor viewers with?
If you want to listen to my podcast, it's called Not Like the Movies. It's on Spotify, Apple Music. We're also on Instagram at Not Like the Movies Pod. If you want to hear certain people or you have like a pal that you want to hear talk about art and shit, you can DM us and let us know. And I try to do all that fun stuff as well. You can follow me if you want. It's at Faith Knapp. Knapp is with a K and 2 P's. That's about it. Shout out to Scott.
Yeah, I know.
He's going to be like, why are you talking about me so much?
I love it. The Thunderman's movie came out, right? So they can keep
what?
doing that. The Thunderman's
Yeah.
movie? Okay.
It came out in March. So if you want to watch me on a Nickelodeon movie, my dad and my mom watched. It was so cute. They were like sending me updates. They were like, oh, look, there you are. There you are again.
Spotted. That's so cute.
Proud parents.
Love it. All right, well, we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.